Hey everyone, we're back for another exciting interview here in Nourish, Heal, and Thrive. I'm really excited to bring Julie to you. She's a menopause and health coach, and she does a lot of different things, and she has a great story, many stories that she said she might be able to share with us today. So, Julie, thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Why don't you start out by sharing like who you are and where you're from and what you do?
Sure. My name's Juli Madacey. I am a menopause coaching specialist, a master health coach, a holistic health practitioner, and personal trainer. Um, I am an American expat living in northern Italy. We've been here for about 11 and a half years now. And in my former life before Italy, I had a 25 plus year career in corporate human resources. So I've lived on that corporate stress train, and then I decided when we got to Italy and I left that behind, I had to decide what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I decided to pursue my true passion of health and wellness. So.
That's really cool. So, how did you get started? I know you said when you moved to Italy, you decided to kind of change careers, but what drove you into the health and wellness space?
Well, that goes all the way back to when I was 19. I lost my mother to cancer. She was only 48. And before she passed, she had spent some time working with a naturopathic doctor. And the change in her, she actually got her cancer into remission for a while until we got away from where we could work with a naturopathic doctor. And the health of our whole family just changed in remarkable ways. And I learned a lot at that stage in my life. And of course, as a 20 something, you go to off to university, you get into party mode, you do all the things. But then as I got older, I started to have health problems of my own. And that interest in health and wellness had always followed me, even if I wasn't fully living it. So I started making it my hobby to read books about health and wellness and nutrition and exercise. And I got a lot more into it in my 40s. I was having some serious issues, and I saw a holistic doctor after many go-rounds with my family doctor, unsuccessful ones. And he helped me tremendously. Found out I had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune condition. All the things that my doctor had told me were in my head, weight gain, puffy face, inflammation, terrible skin problems, hair falling out, no energy. These are by our current medical standards, normal things. And when I saw the holistic doctor, everything changed. And then it wasn't, our path to better health and taking care of our bodies is never linear. But over the course of some years of doing that with him, I just got really excited about it because I don't think we ever appreciate how bad we feel until we start feeling better because it's such a gradual thing. And there's so many things that we now think are normal, like low energy and bad sleep and high stress and all of these things that are just such an integral part of our daily lives. So I just decided that's what I wanted to do. And he encouraged me, my holistic doctor did. So I became certified as a holistic health practitioner. And it was kind of a hobby. I would give health and wellness talks as lunch and learn at the company I worked with. They allowed me to do that. And then my holistic doctor was sending me clients for nutrition consultations because he didn't have the time he needed to do that. And then we had the chance to move to Italy. And of course, the lifestyle in Europe is so vastly different to the US. I think I've been reversing my age as I've gotten older. So,
That's great. So, talk about some of the differences between living in the US compared to Italy.
um, I think the biggest factor, well, I shouldn't say the biggest factor. There are several factors that are big ones, but probably the biggest factor is our attitude in the US toward convenience. Everything has to be right now, whether that's weight loss, food, medicine, haircuts, anything, installation of services, whatever it is, it has to be right now, right now, right now. And life in Europe doesn't always work that way, and especially Italy. But that's a good thing because we've taken our food supply now and changed it into something that doesn't even resemble food in most other countries. And one of the pieces of research I was doing for a presentation I gave in the US, on the generally recognized as safe list for additives to food, there are over 10,000 that are approved. And those are just the ones that the FDA knows about. There are loopholes, so a lot of it's a voluntary system, so a lot of the food manufacturers don't even have to put their additives to the test. In Europe, there are 438. And they have to be proven safe by very rigorous testing before they're allowed into the food supply, rather than in the US, we have to prove that it's not safe to be taken out of the food supply. So I think that's really changed the face of our food, and GMOs are not permitted here, which is significant. As a matter of fact, US foods come with warning labels on them because of the kinds of ingredients that they contain. So that's huge. People come here to visit and they often say, I didn't know that's what a carrot is supposed to taste like, or oh my gosh, I've never tasted tomatoes like this. And we're here so long now, we sort of take that for granted, but the flavor of the food, the soil it's grown in, and it's not that there's not industrial farming here, there is, but in the small villages and the fresh food markets, Italians are very, very particular about their food and the quality of their food. And shopping is done every couple of days, if not every day. You go into town and you pick the freshest food, and that's what you make your meals with. So, generally speaking, that's a very different kind of approach to us, where we buy at warehouse stores and keep everything in the cupboards for months on end and in the freezer and whatnot. So that was a kind of a big change for us. And then movement here, walking. I wear a Fitbit, and to get 12,500 steps in a day is kind of average. Whereas every time I go back to visit the States, I have to be really intentional just to get maybe 10,000 in a day if I'm lucky, because we drive everywhere. We sit a lot. We have all of these things at our convenience, whereas over here we tend to do things more manually. Space is at a premium, so we don't have a lot of gadgets and things. We do things more by hand. We walk into town. Bikes are a form of transportation where you go. If you want to go traveling around, people who come to visit are often quite surprised at how much walking you have to do just to get around day after day. And then the healthcare system is really good. It's socialized medicine, so unfortunately it's very slow, but for general care, it's really good. And most doctors are still of the mindset where they'll try to figure out what's causing the problem instead of just medicating it or doing the quick fix kind of thing. And if there are lifestyle related causes, they'll look at nutrition, they'll look at movement, and they'll look at sleep and stress. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So I think those are some pretty major factors in the way life is approached. And the other thing is Italians work really hard, long days, long weeks, but 5 weeks of vacation is standard with employment contracts here. So time off is really essential. And Sundays are it's still family day, the big lunch with the family at 1 o'clock on a Sunday. Siesta time is still a thing. There are actually businesses, small businesses, not big companies, but small businesses will still close from like either 12:30 or 1 o'clock until maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and then open for a few hours in the evening. So they take that downtime during the day. Getting fresh air, being outside is all really important. So it's a really, for us, it's a really good lifestyle. We fit well here.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I think I would like that. Talk a little bit more about, you mentioned the how your doctor thought in the US thought all your symptoms were in your head.
hmm
And I think that's a major problem. Doctors don't know how to treat something, or they try to, treat you with your symptoms, they help you live with your symptoms instead of actually finding whatever the root cause is.
Yeah, exactly. And the frustrating thing for me was that I've always been fairly knowledgeable about health and wellness because I've studied it, and admittedly as a hobby. So, and you can't rely on every single book you read from the internet because they're not all uh, peer reviewed and medically based. But the foundation of nutrition science is the foundation of nutrition science, and the foundation of physiology. The body works the way it works. So I had done a lot of research because my symptoms were so frustrating and affecting my quality of life. And I continued. It took me over 6 years of going to my doctor and telling her, I think there's something wrong with my thyroid. And she did a couple of standard thyroid tests, but she didn't do the full panel of the full thyroid panel, and she didn't do the tests that I asked her to do because my blood work showed I was in normal ranges. And I don't think people realize this, but the way normal ranges are determined for blood work are by looking at the averages over the past 12 to 18 months and establishing those ranges based on averages from blood tests that have been performed over the last 12 to 18 months nationwide. Who's getting most of the blood work done? Not typically healthy people. So we're not looking at these from a functional perspective. We're looking at these from a sick perspective, or at least not a vitally healthy perspective. And so a normal range, if you compare that to functional blood work, which looks at what will give you the best vitality and help the organism function at its best, um, those markers will be in vastly different places. So normal in the States isn't necessarily normal. And I can't fault just the States. I mean, the UK, some places in Europe, the standard blood tests are what they are. So anyway, I kept asking her, something's wrong. I don't feel well. I have these weird symptoms, and they were vague. I started to develop allergies. I developed asthma, things that I'd never had in my childhood. And by the end of the time that I was seeing her, I was on 7 different medications. And I was in my late 30s, early 40s. And I just thought, I kept going to her because she was in my insurance network, and the holistic doctor I wanted to see was a cash only practice. And I thought, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And then I thought, I'm paying with my health. I'm paying with my life because I'm losing the ability to function properly on a day-to-day basis. So I saved up the money and I went to see the holistic doctor, and I walked in to see, well, what really got me to change my path was the last time I saw her, I said, I know it's my thyroid. I just know it's my thyroid from everything I've learned. And she gave me a prescription for Adderall and the number of a psychiatrist. And I said, I don't have ADD. Why are you giving me Adderall? She said, because weight loss is one of the side effects, and that's your main complaint. And I think you should call this psychiatrist because this is all in your head.
Hmm.
And that was the final straw. So then I went and made the appointment to see the holistic doctor. And when I went in to see him, the very first appointment gives you a full hour. He tells you to bring a tape recorder because you're going to talk about a lot of things, and he wants you to be able to remember everything you've discussed. He wants you to come on in with a full list of anything that's on your mind about your health. And I walked in and he said, "What brings you here to see me today?" And I said, "Well, I think I have a thyroid issue, but my doctor says my tests are normal." And he said, "Julie, I can tell by looking at you that you have a thyroid issue." And I thought, oh, hallelujah. So he took me off of all 7 medications right then and there, um, did a full blood panel, and decided to just start on a simple supplement regime and then look at the blood work and then decide what dietary changes to make and all of that. Within 2 days, my husband looked at me and said, "You're different. I can see you in your eyes again." And I thought, okay, this is the right path to be on. So again, it wasn't, it wasn't a quick turnaround, and it was certainly a bumpy road, because when you have so many systems out of whack, that's a technical term. When you have so many systems that aren't functioning correctly, they compensate for each other, especially in the endocrine system. So my thyroid had been off for so long and so badly off that other endocrine glands were not functioning properly either, by virtue of trying to compensate. When my blood work came back, the cutoff, and I can't remember the specific measurement, but the cutoff for TPO antibodies was 35. If you have fewer than 35, you don't have an autoimmune issue. If you have more than you do. Mine were 219. He said, "Julie, you've had this for years." And all that time she kept, brushing me aside. And I'm huge with the women that I work with now. I'm a huge proponent of self-advocacy. And we do everything we can to set women up to be able to go in and advocate, because doctors don't do it out of malice, but they're just not educated for health. They're educated to treat illness. And when they have 8 minutes or 12 minutes or whatever the local insurance system allows them for a visit, they don't have the time to understand you as a person, to understand your health history, to understand the things that you're doing. They have to look at these symptoms, and they can't explore lifestyle factors. As a matter of fact, in some cases, they're prohibited from doing lifestyle interventions because of the way our medical system is set up. So it's not out of malice, but if you don't go in ready to talk to them and advocate for yourself, especially women in menopause, 33 to 36% of women in menopause are misdiagnosed and given an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication when they're actually symptoms of the menopause transition. And doctors get maybe an hour of education in menopause transition. And women, especially in this phase of life, our bodies are changing in tremendous ways. And we don't even notice it because it starts happening in our early 40s, and it's very subtle over time. In some cases, not so subtle, but a lot of the changes are subtle. And it's easy to look in the mirror and suddenly think, who is that person? Right? And we lose confidence in our bodies. We don't feel good about the way we look. We try diet after diet, and none of them are helpful because they don't take these things into consideration. Did you know, sorry, I'm rambling, but did you know that the average woman is going to try 126 diets in her lifetime? That's 22 years of dieting in the
Crazy.
average adult lifespan.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's crazy.
It's insane. And the diet industry is in the hundreds of billions of dollars now because they are not creating solutions, they're creating customers. And we keep going back over and over and over again. And I know, it's easy to be a bit evangelical, I think, once you've been on this health journey yourself, because you want other people to realize, wait, listen, I really know how this works. But it's such a different experience for everybody. And so being able to support people, meet them where they are, understand their lifestyle factors, understand their likes and dislikes, understand the other things that are involved, because weight loss isn't really about weight. I
Right.
mean, our weight is our relationship with gravity on a given day. We want to lose weight because we want to feel a certain way. We want to live a certain way. That's what it's about. So getting away from dieting and the scale and getting to where, what do you really want? And, and why is that important to you? So you want to feel vibrant. You want to live fully up into the last day of your life. You want to be able to play with your grandkids, get up and down off the floor, ride your bike, hike, paddle, whatever it might be. No, that's why we want to do these things. So it isn't about weight, it's about health. It's about longevity. It's
Mm.
about quality of life. And it's easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah, because why would you want to live so long if you're miserable, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
tell us, I don't want to take too much of your time, but tell us a
sure.
little bit about your clients who comes to you and how you help them.
Sure. I have a business partner. We have a company called Fabulous Beyond 40. Um, and it's for women because the menopause journey, perimenopause starts in your early 40s, typically on average, and menopause lasts until the day you die. You never over menopause as a woman. So we work with women through all parts of this journey to help them regain that confidence and that sense of vitality and understand the changes that are happening in their lives. No two women experience it the same way. So there's no cookie cutter program that's going to work. There's no diet that's going to work for everyone. So we are able to meet women where they're at, and we work on 4 pillars. There's think, eat, move, and live. Keep it simple. And how we think, of course, affects absolutely everything that we do. What we eat is all we have to replace the cells in our body. The way we move, we have to move. Our bodies were made to do that, but we need to move differently at this phase of life. And then how we live and their lifestyle factors like our stress management and how we sleep and our relationships and our spirituality and all of the other things that make us who we are. So we look at all of those things and we have a membership that we coach in, and we have different success paths that people can choose from. And we guide them through our coaching. We guide them through these success paths at their own pace. We show how to customize these things to serve each person best. And it's really great to watch the transformations and the aha moments and see women find themselves again. Um, yeah, especially this time of life. It's a really important time. It takes a third to a half of our lifespan is this menopause journey. So it's not something to take lightly. So we offer a membership. We have 2 levels. We have our tribe, and then we have a VIP membership as well, which includes one-on-one coaching.
Wow,
So
that sounds great.
yeah.
Amazing. Uh, Julie, is there anything that you haven't talked about that you want to share with us before we end it?
Um, I would just say find your why. I think that's what made the biggest difference for me was really digging deep into the emotional ick in some ways and just figuring out why. Because motivation is fickle. It never comes before we take action. Motivation follows action. But when we know why we're doing something, it makes it a lot easier to stay focused and to stay determined.
I love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much. And one thing that I loved that you said earlier is that, you know, we don't want to spend money on things because, our insurance doesn't cover it. So we keep going to the same doctor over and over again. And I think a key thing I'm taking away is invest in yourself.
Yeah,
It's worth the investment to see a holistic doctor if you're not getting the results you want from your regular medical practitioner.
absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you, Julie. And thank you everybody for watching. Julie is going to drop her links in the comments. So if you want to get in touch with her or join her program, she's going to send you links so you can get more information about that.
Great.
And any final words, Julie?
Um, Yeah, I'm just looking forward to connecting with people, more people here in the group, and seeing some more of these great interviews that you do. And I would just say thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, and thanks everyone. And if you want to shine in the group, comment interview, and we'll give you an opportunity to share your gifts, or maybe you're struggling and need some extra support. We could do that too. So thank you, and we'll see everyone at the next one. Bye.